Today's episode was sponsored by Trish and Jess from Raven's Wool. So thank you guys so much. And let's go ahead and get this bad boy up on the wall, shall we? Is that right side up or upside down? That's right side up. Yeah! So, yeah, here it is up on the wall. And it's actually showing up on camera, which is rare for me. I'm really bad at what I do. And yeah, like I said, this episode was sponsored by the good people at Raven's Wool. Apparently, one of my fans is a yarn dyer, which is cool on its own, but to make things even cooler, she made some special yarns and named them after my videos. So yeah, this is Content Creature, and this is Existential Mustache. Both great names, and a nice reminder that some people do watch my self-improvement videos, because I'm pretty sure those are where the names come from. And yeah, they're great. I've already used them to make the patch, as you can see. And I'm kind of mad about that, because after using them to make the patch, I decided that I want to use them for other things, and now I have less to use. But I can always buy more, and so can you. I'm gonna put a link to the Ravenswool website along with a link to these two specific products in the link below. So go out and show your fellow nitwits some love if you're looking to buy some yarn for a crafts project. This is a great place to do it, and you will be supporting the channel in a way. I don't know, yeah. So yeah, thank you so much to Trish and Jess, and with that, let's go ahead and get this video started. I think I'm gonna use Existential Mustache to make a ghoul. A while back, I wasn't sure what video to make, so I put a poll up on my community page asking what I should focus on next, and it was close, but the topic that got the most votes was a Christian movie. So I ignored the results and made a video about America's Next Top Model instead. I used to talk about Christian movies a lot on this channel, but something happened around November of last year that made the idea of gawking at a bunch of conservative Christians feel a lot less fun to me. I have no idea what. Possibly the release of Moana 2. I had high hopes for that movie that were not met, and I haven't really been the same since. That said, the top model video didn't do great, so I figured that maybe that was a sign to give the small majority of people what they wanted and dip my toes back into the terrifying world of Christian media. I'll be honest, though the idea of spending any amount of time with conservatives, be they real or fictional, makes me sick to my stomach nowadays, I am still a little bit drawn to the genre. I don't know if you guys have ever found spoiled milk in your fridge and for whatever reason you had to sniff it, but this feels very similar to that. The fact of the matter is that a lot has happened on the right wing since the last time I watched one of these bad boys, so I figured it couldn't hurt me to check back in. Actually, that's not true. It could hurt me, but only emotionally. It can't cause me physical pain. It's just a movie. It doesn't have like arms or anything like that. So I googled Christian movies 2025, and when I read the description of the first thing that popped up, I knew instantly that I was about to feel very bad for giving these people money in order to watch it. When Scott and Teresa learn that their son Austin is autistic and has brittle bone disease, they initially worry about his future. However, with Scott's growing faith and Austin's incredible spirit, they become unbreakable as they find joy, gratitude, and courage in the most trying times. I don't know why I read it British. So yeah, let's see what the deal is. This is The Unbreakable Boy.
This story is based on true facts. Lots of true facts. As told by Ozman. That's me.
Okay, I take it back. This movie might actually cause me physical pain. Generally speaking, I think you should watch a movie all the way through before you decide how you feel about it. And I did. But now that I have, I can confidently say that your enjoyment of this will come down to how you feel about those first 10 seconds I just showed you. I feel badly saying this, but I was not as charmed by this child as the movie seems to want me to be.
Look at me. I'm rocking that hat. I'm Austin, Richard Austin Lorette, but you can call me Oz or Ozman. When I meet new people, I tell them everything. Ready? Here we go. I love sneakers, dragons, Star Wars, pancakes, SpongeBob, Back to the Future, chicken nuggets, and ranch dressing. Ranch dressing is the bomb.
Okay, I can't think of a single time we actually see him eating ranch dressing. Literally no part of what he just said is important to the plot in any way. And yeah, I don't really have much to add here. The only reason I'm cutting in is because this part goes on like that for a while, and I'm worried if I play it in full without commenting on it in some way, it'll make it harder for me to appeal a copyright claim. So yeah, I guess my comment is this child's exhausting me.
I have a lizard named Marty, aka Marty McFly. I have a killer movie collection and a hat collection. Wearing the right hat makes my day. I have a condition called osteogenesis imperfecta. Those are big words, but it basically means my bones break easily. I've broken my arms, my nose, my ribs, my feet, pretty much everything. Oh yeah, I also have autism. Some kids with autism can't talk, but I sure can.
As you probably assumed, he is the titular unbreakable boy, and his name is Austin. Or Ozman. They call him Ozman a lot. Honestly, the first time I watched this, I assumed that they named the character Austin so they could call him Ozman because that kind of sounds like it's short for autistic man. But then I looked it up and saw that this is based on a true story written by Austin's real fathers, so I guess that was just a happy coincidence. That said, knowing that this movie is told from the perspective of a real autistic person who isn't actually giving his perspective did make it feel a lot hinkier to me. Like they're putting words in his mouth and then laughing about how much he talks.
Here's a true fact. Things break. See? Sometimes it's bad when they break, sometimes it's good. You don't always know which it's gonna be. Dad says that's a metaphor. Mom says Dad doesn't know what a metaphor is.
There's not a chance in hell I actually read this book, but I think that the fact that the movie it inspired opens by telling us that the guy who wrote it doesn't know what a metaphor is tells me everything I need to know about it. Still, I was a little curious if, like the movie, it was also told from Austin's perspective, so I looked it up, and it's not, for the most part. There is a letter at the beginning of the book which claims to be written by Austin, although, I'll be honest, I have strong suspicion that the dad wrote that part too, because, well, why don't I just read it for you and you can be the judge? My name is Austin, Richard Austin Lorette, but you can call me Oz. That's a true fact. When I meet new people, I tell them everything. I've broken so many bones. I broke my back 2 times. I have osteogenesis imperfecta. I'm not sure what that is. All I know is that my bones break real easy. When I was little, I had something wrong with my heart too, and the surgeon had to crack my chest open, fix it, and then wire me back together. I also have autism. Autism stinks. Some autistic kids can't talk, but I can. Sometimes I make up words. It calms me down to say words over and over again. Sometimes I say bad words and I have a hard time listening. I wish it would stop. I wish I was a better person. All right, just gonna cut in here real quick to say, Jesus Christ! People don't understand how much I try. I freak out over little things and get mad a lot when feelings come. I don't like my diseases. Logan is the lucky one because he can ride a dirt bike or skateboard. He's so lucky. No autism. Sometimes I wish mom could put me back in her belly so I could get born all over again and maybe my genes would change. For my own well being, I'm going to tell myself that those words came from the real Austin's pen. But even still, I think the fact that his dad read that and decided to open his book with it instead of being like, "You sure you don't want to try another draft where you're nicer to yourself, Ozman?" does give you a good idea of what to expect from this movie. Although I guess right off the bat, that explains why someone like Zachary Levi might star in a movie that's ostensibly pro-autism, and that's that it's not actually. I don't think that the point of this is to show that having an autistic child can be a joyful thing. I think that the point is to show that having any child can be a joyful thing, even if they're plagued with something as terrible as autism. And I think that that's an important distinction. The more I think about it, the more I think that this movie fucking hates autistic people. Actually, no, that's not fair. It likes autistic people, but it hates autism. Everything about the way it's written leads me to believe that it thinks autism is like a tumor that could be cut out, not just like a part of who a person is. It definitely loves Ozman, but it also mourns the person he could have been had he not had autism, and doesn't seem to realize that that's not Ozman. That's just some guy from another universe. Although before I move on, because these are real people, I do want to state clearly for the record that I believe his father loves his son. If anything, the movie's about the dad learning that his son is perfect just the way he is, but even still, there's a level of frustration buried in the writing that's hard to ignore. Like, I feel like this movie loves its main character the way a guy in a Facebook meme loves his wife. If that makes sense. One line in particular really stuck out to me.
Some kids with autism can't talk, but I sure can.
Because you just know that that dad tells that joke at parties all the time. I can totally picture Austin going up to a guest at a party and talking their ear off, and then the dad saying, "You know, some autistic people can't talk, but clearly that's not Ozman's problem." And then everyone laughs and takes a sip of their Tom Collins. And like, whatever, you're allowed to be annoyed with your child no matter who they are. But even still, I figured I'd mention the vibes I was picking up on because it does tinge everything in a way that undercuts what I believe is the point of the movie. Although I might be wrong about that, because if what I think is the point of the movie is the point of the movie, then they don't lay it on quite as thick as you might expect. If the fact that Zachary Levi was in it didn't tip you off, this movie is a lot more mainstream than a lot of the Christian movies I normally talk about. Other famous members of the cast include Deborah from Everybody Loves Raymond, the gay dad vampire from Twilight, and Megan Fahey, which was heartbreaking because she's great and I wanted better for her than this. Honestly, I question if this even counted as a Christian movie because it's not super Christian. The characters in it are Christian, and there are Christian themes and morals. But the same could be said about The Simpsons, and I'd hardly call that faith-based. I think what makes a Christian movie is that it's proselytizing in some way. It's not enough that the characters and situation it depicts are Christian. By the time the credits roll, the viewer should be too. And in that sense, I would say that Unbreakable Boy qualifies as a Christian movie. It's just sneakier than most. They never bring up the issue outright, but at its core, I think this is a very pro-life film. I think the goal of it is to show people that you shouldn't get an abortion because even an autistic child can be the source of a lot of happiness. And if I'm right in saying that the point is to try and convince people to choose life, which I'm fairly confident that I am, then there's honestly something kind of gross that this is the story they went with. I think whatever your rationale is, it's valid, but I feel like I might not love my child because they're autistic is fairly low on the list of reasons someone might choose to get an abortion. And the fact that this movie decided to put it front and center is honestly a bit concerning. Maybe I'm giving people too much credit, but I think that if you're choosing to terminate your pregnancy because your child may have special needs, it's because you're worried that you won't be able to properly care for them, not that you won't like them. I think that very few people who are meant to be parents would see that their child might be autistic and say, all right, let's scrap this one and try again. Which is not to say that nobody would ever do that, just that I don't think that those people are meant to be parents. Which is fine, not everybody is. The dad in this movie, for example. We open in medias res, whatever, as the dad drunkenly celebrates a New Year's Eve party. And right away, it's clear that something is a bit off about this man. To be fair, that's intentional. A large part of this movie is about him struggling with alcoholism. But even still, based on this next part, I'd say that his problem runs a little deeper than that.
You are lost, my friend. Your moral compass is broken. You are failing as a husband and as a father. Who are you to judge me?
And yeah, after that, he puts his child with easily broken bones into a car and drives home.
Where was I? Oh, right. The night when everything broke.
Did you guys have a good time?
Oh, I had the best time
Dancing
ever.
on the...
Woohoo!
We gotta get back to
totally come back
Mom.
here. Dad,
There we go.
are you okay?
Hop in, Logan.
Dad?
Right on, Pike.
If you're wondering what happens next, then keep wondering, because after that, the movie flashes back and starts telling us a surprisingly detailed story about how the dad and the mom met.
Oh, wait. I need to tell you about the green khaki pants. Without the green khaki pants, I wouldn't even be here.
And yeah, it's a weird choice. Like, I get that they're trying to build suspense up top, but the way they do that is by hanging the question of did he kill his kid over your head for the entire movie? Which is suspenseful, to be fair, but not in a fun way. It just kind of makes everything feel slightly more unpleasant. But anyway, the green khaki pants.
Without the green khaki pants, I wouldn't even be here.
Huh? Yeah, I mean, you know, you gotta find...
Actually, no, never mind. There's no reason to go into that. I'll be honest, talking about this movie is difficult because if I were to discuss every insane thing that happens, this video would be like 3 hours long. But then when I try to cut it down to just the necessary story beats, I end up getting rid of most of the movie. It really does sometimes feel like an autistic kid telling you a story, just a lot of unnecessary parts that could probably be cut out. And I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say that that was a stylistic choice, but I'm not sure that that's actually the case. I kind of think that the guy who wrote it is just so charmed with himself that it leads him to believe that certain things he does are a lot more book-worthy than they actually are. Honestly, if this is what made it into the screenplay, I can only imagine what sorts of details the book includes. And I don't think it helps matters that I never really bought that he was charming. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where your friend is telling their side of a story and it's clear from the way they're telling it that they were actually the asshole in that situation, but That's what large chunks of this movie feel like. And to show you what I mean, I guess I will go into the green khaki story because while it's not interesting, I think it is a good example of what I mean. This is basically meant to be their meet cute.
Your size, but
This is a. Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah, that's not gonna work. Maybe the burger shirt.
Dude, look at this girl. She's stunning. Look at those blue eyes. Those are the most amazing blue eyes I've ever seen.
Buy something.
Buy what?
I don't know. Buy pants.
Here you go.
excuse me. Excuse me.
Hi, can I help you?
Yeah. I'm interested in purchasing some of these pants.
Oh, great choice.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm Scott. I travel a lot for work, so
Yeah, what kind of work is that?
medical rep for now. But I've got big plans.
Are those plans pants related?
They could be.
And I don't think that this character is meant to be suave or anything, but I do think that there's meant to be a spark between them.
The pants could be a part of the plan, so you should definitely sell me some of these.
Anything I can do to help.
Do you work on commission?
I do.
Great. Then I'd like to buy 4 pairs of these pants if you would consider going to dinner with me.
Well, they're already 2 for 1, so.
Okay, well then I'll buy 8 pairs of pants.
8 pairs of green pants, really?
What can I say? I like green.
How about this? You buy no pants. And I have coffee with you.
We're supposed to think that him asking her out like this is romantic. And in a movie, I suppose that it is. When you remember that this is a retelling of the way the author actually met his wife, it starts to feel a lot less cute. He's basically going up to a woman at her place of business and trying to pay her to go out with him. She tells him that instead of dinner, she'll go to coffee with him, and in the movie, it feels like, oh, she's into it. But if that were to happen in the real world, my assumption would be that she's throwing him a bone to get him off her back so she can do her job. Unfortunately, he's a dick about the coffee too.
After that, Mom and Dad went on 3 dates in 3 weeks. Date number 1, coffee.
I said coffee, like coffee shop.
Oh, yeah, no, they serve coffee. Don't worry, I checked.
Oh, good.
And again, it feels like we're supposed to view this as a sweet, funny story from the beginning of their relationship. And maybe it is. I don't know for sure. What I can say for sure is that if I expressly told someone that I'd go for coffee and not dinner, and then they brought me to dinner anyway and didn't tell me, so I ended up at a fancy place in my pajamas, I'd be pissed. The movie never pretends that the relationship is without its struggles, and in fact, it's mostly struggles, but they do end up together, and I get the sense that we're supposed to view this as romantic. But if it is, I think it's only romantic because we know how it turns out. This relationship is a bit of a tautology. Or at least it's what my understanding of a tautology is. There's a solid chance I don't actually know what that word means. We feel like they have a spark at the beginning of their relationship because we know that they're meant to be together. And we know that they're meant to be together because they had this spark at the beginning of their relationship. I think their romance is meant to play into the film's message that things won't always turn out how you pictured, but they will turn out how they're supposed to. But I feel like the only reason this relationship turns out like it's supposed to is because they decided after the fact that this is the way it was supposed to turn out. When I think about everything that happens in the early parts of this movie logically and do my best to resand the edges and remove the Hollywood gloss of it all, I very much want to tell this woman to run before it's too late. Unfortunately, it's too late pretty early on because she's late.
That's your girlfriend.
My girlfriend, give me a break. I don't even know her last name.
Oh! Told you.
Shut up. Hey there, if you want to go out again, I'm going to need to know your last name.
Scott? Hey, listen.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, well, no. I'm pregnant.
What?
After receiving the news, main dude goes up to his roof where he breaks all sorts of fire safety laws and talks it over with his best friend Joe.
But you like her, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you want kids.
After I've done a million other things, I was gonna quit my job and go back to school. It's the worst timing ever, and a kid. That's forever.
They do tend to last. Beer?
Shouldn't have a beer.
Don't mind if I do.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you the thing about Joe. It's pretty important. He's not real, he's made up.
Excuse me?
He's my dad's imaginary friend. Dad invented him as a kid. It's how he talks through things, like Tyler Durden in Fight Club. I flippin' love that movie.
Okay, first of all, who is this movie for that they thought someone wouldn't understand the concept of an imaginary friend until they brought up Fight Club? Second of all, what? Obviously, when I was watching this the first time, my friends and I were talking over it a lot. And that line was rattled off so casually that we almost missed it. Which would have been very confusing because Joe is one of the main characters. He's kind of always there. He hangs out with the main dude, he sleeps in his bed, he goes trick-or-treating with the family, dressed as Tyler Durden. And there are little references to the fact that he isn't real throughout the movie. There's a lot of moments like this where it looks like Joe is helping main dude move a mattress, but then you cut to someone else's perspective and he's just dragging the mattress on the floor, which, like, bed bugs. Still, if you're not paying close attention, as I imagine is the case with a lot of the people watching this movie, it would be very easy to miss those details. Although honestly, I guess if you did miss those details, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because him being imaginary doesn't really matter all that much. There is one moment towards the end of the movie when the main dude starts to embrace his Christianity where the fact that Joe's imaginary actually pays off.
So I have a question.
Yeah?
I've been talking to you nearly my whole life. And it's just occurred to me. Are you God?
Scott, look at me. Look at my face, son. No, I'm not God, you dimwit. Look, what did you think was gonna happen there?
And I'm not gonna lie, that was a solid joke. It was the one genuine laugh that this movie got out of me. Still, I'm not sure it was really worth it. Honestly, it would have made a lot more sense if Joe was God. He's this invisible being that has been by the main dude's side his entire life. It's silly, but thematically, it works. I will be honest, I truly have no idea why they included this aspect of the movie. My best guess based on the script is that the guy who wrote this just really liked Fight Club, so when he went to write a book, he tried to make the character based on himself seem cooler by giving him a Tyler Durden. I think it's also possible that in the book, Joe was supposed to be God, but when they translated it into a movie, they decided to sacrifice that in favor of a joke. And again, it's a solid joke, but I do think that it kind of undercuts any Christian messaging they might be going for, because he functions similarly enough to God that by laughing at the idea that he might be God, you kind of just feel like you're laughing at God. Of course, I suppose it might be the case that the dad really does have this imaginary friend in real life, and If he does, then that's concerning. Joe is a big enough part of the main dude's life that his existence definitely qualifies as a mental illness of some sort. So not only does it make you question the guy's sanity, it also makes the plot of this movie that much murkier. A big part of Unbreakable Boy is the fact that main dude has trouble connecting with Ozman because his brain works differently. This is literally the scene right before they get him diagnosed.
Sometimes I feel like my dad is close and far away at the same time.
1, 2, 3, go!
Woohoo! Like, even though I'm right there, he doesn't really see me. Look, Dad, it's a dragon! It's a dragon! Isn't he awesome?
I'm just saying I'm worried about him, babe. He won't stop counting. He talks constantly. He gets lost in these fantasies, and when I try to connect with him, he just melts down for no reason.
Hey, little dude. Austin. I'm sorry, I just don't see what you see all the time.
And it's like, why is what he just did any weirder than what you've been doing this entire time? If anything, you'd think that getting lost in fantasy worlds would be an area where the two of you would bond. I don't know, I'm getting ahead of myself. Actually, am I? I genuinely don't know. The plot of this movie doesn't super matter. Like I said, depending on how in-depth I want to get, the plot summary part of this video could be very long, or I could boil it down to a single sentence. And since one of those is a lot easier than the other, actually, I think what I'll do is see how this one does, and if it seems like you guys want to hear more about this movie, I'll do a follow-up. So everybody like this if you want to see more, and if this gets more likes than normal, I'll make a part 2. Or I might just make a part 2 anyway. I really don't have any other ideas for videos at the moment. So, but yeah, basically the plot is that the two of them get married and start a family and build a life together, and that life seems terrible, but they find a way to make it through anyway. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that the reason their life is terrible is because they have a special needs child. That certainly doesn't help matters, but I would argue that the main dude is the real problem here. And I think the movie would agree with me. I actually think that's explicitly what it's trying to say, but it also feels like it's fighting itself on that a lot of the time. I think a big reason that Unbreakable Boy rubs me the wrong way a lot of the time is because I know that ultimately the story being told is from the dad's point of view. It puts the entire film in a weird context. A lot of it feels like that scene with the green khakis, where I get the sense that we're not getting the full story. Obviously, I don't know if the author is manipulating this in his own favor, but I'm aware enough of the fact that he could, that I can't help but look for times where he might be. And once you start looking, it's not hard to find them. There are many aspects of this movie where it feels like what we're seeing has been filtered through the main dude's perspective. Ozman, for example. Like I said, he's frequently very annoying. And I think that's because his dad is a little annoyed by him. It seems like they're doing their best to make us understand the dad's struggle with raising a special needs son.
So I'm reorganizing my DVDs and Blu-rays. Instead of alphabetical or color-coded, I'm sorting by genre. So comedy, drama, superheroes, Comedy with superheroes. Drama with superheroes. Miscellaneous with superheroes.
Austin, I gotta use the bathroom really quick. Okay, I'm gonna see you in just a bit.
Which, for the record, I'm sure this isn't that far off from how the actual Ozman talks, but I feel like there's at least a reason he says the things he says in real life. Maybe that reason isn't quite clear to anyone else, but at the very least, it probably makes sense to him. Here, I don't think that anyone actually thought about his motivations, and I think that's because they don't super matter. His words aren't really meant to be words, they're meant to be noise. Oz frequently doesn't feel like his own character so much as a hurdle that the protagonist needs to overcome.
Is that what's for dinner? Is that meat? Is that pot roasted poop with white sprinkles? What? Hey, Dad, I've been thinking, are werewolves real? What if we had one right here in Oklahoma? You know, I just know they're real. Dad, I have a migraine. Do you have a migraine? Why do we get migraines? Probably because I talk so much and my cortex can't keep up. I'm such a dork, aren't I? Do you love me, Dad? Please tell me you love me.
I do.
Anyway, werewolves must be so cool, right? I bet they have one if they do.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if in the script, instead of dialogue, they just wrote Oz babbles, because he really could be saying anything here, and as long as we understood that it was exhausting the main dude, it would get the point of the scene across. Which honestly would be fine. I think that showing that Oz can be frustrating is much better than portraying him like this Christ-like figure who can do no wrong. I think that if you want to give an accurate portrayal of someone, you need to show them warts and all, no matter who they are. Where I have a problem, though, is that I don't always feel like these are Ozman's warts. If anything, they feel more like an attempt at covering up the dad's warts a little bit. One scene in particular that stuck out to me happens directly after that last clip I showed you. The parents decide that they need to deal with Ozman, so then this happens.
You have to get them one.
Somebody has to do
I was just
something, right?
welcoming a werewolf and inviting him to lunch. I mean, what do you think the werewolf eats? It's probably the same thing as us. All right, one other question. Is Bruce Lee Chinese? Oh, I know he is.
Oh,
but he will
Austin.
he still be Chinese?
Ozman.
Or is he Japanese?
Hey, listen to me, I have an idea.
he's a cartoon.
I have an idea. I have an idea.
Yes, let's hear it.
Do you want to fly?
Flying is so easy, Dad. I'm surprised more kids don't do it.
I don't know. In reality, they're on swings. And given that a major part of this movie is the fact that Oz's bones break easily, you can probably guess where this is going.
Logan, you're getting so strong, dude. You're pushing so high now.
Push me higher, okay?
Not too high, though, please.
I am Ozman, the awesome Ozman.
Hey, Austin, watch this!
Woohoo! This is awesome! What's up, Dad?
Hey, Logan, you having fun? Where's Austin? Austin, no! Austin! Oh my God! Say something, say something.
Daddy, why did you hurt me?
We see Ozman break his bones many times throughout the movie, but this one is by far the most detailed. And I think it's not a coincidence that this is also the one where the dad seems the least at fault. Granted, I wouldn't say he's blameless here. I'm not sure why he decided to take a turn on the swing while his youngest son pushed. You'd think he'd want to be on the ground so he could monitor his son with brittle bones disease as he hurtles 12 feet into the air, but even still, there is some moral ambiguity. Normally when Oz breaks his bones, it's because the dad's not paying attention, and all those scenes are fairly brief.
He's
Scott,
right.
he's running.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, okay. Ozman. Oh,
Watch out.
Okay.
No, baby.
Okay, sorry.
No
I'm sorry.
running.
I don't know what to do. I don't want to break him, you know?
Let's just put you right over
Careful,
here.
careful, careful.
No, let's put you back down on the ground. Let's keep you on the ground. He's good. He's good.
Oh my God, Scott!
Come on.
Here, the dad's a victim too. Oz got hurt because Oz did something he knows he shouldn't have, and now the dad has to deal with the guilt he feels from the fallout. And to be fair, the movie does put the blame on the dad by calling it out directly that Oz only gets hurt on his watch.
I just didn't see him. It happens, T. It could have happened on your watch, too.
But it didn't, and it doesn't. Did you ever notice that? It's always you.
But then it kind of undercuts that by having Joe, who, lest you forget, is an extension of the main dude's own mind, do his best to console him.
You are not a terrible father. You are not the worst person ever. You are not selfish or reckless or irresponsible.
Okay. Joe, thank you.
Did I say selfish?
Thank you, yeah.
Okay.
Again, I'd sooner eat this book than read it, but I wouldn't be surprised if all this works a lot better in print. Like I said, a large chunk of the story is him overcoming alcoholism, and with that comes learning to forgive yourself. Unfortunately, in order to make a message about self-forgiveness stick, I think you need to be able to see the dude's inner turmoil, but you can't really do that in film. Actually, no, you probably could do it pretty easily, but they don't. I think for them to really make the point that he's struggling with guilt here, then Zachary Levi should have argued against himself a little bit. Like, Joe is ostensibly his own thoughts, so if he has turmoil in his head, there should be turmoil between the two of them. I think we're supposed to assume the main dude's guilt from the fact that he stays silent here. He's too lost in his own thoughts to argue with Joe, but because Joe is his own thoughts, that doesn't really make sense. The end result feels less like Joe is telling main dude that he should forgive himself, and more like he's telling us that we should forgive main dude. And since again, Joe is the main dude, that makes me not wanna. This movie almost feels like if Wicked had been written by Elphaba. It seems like the goal here is to take a clear villain and recontextualize some of his actions, but because the villain is the one doing the recontextualizing, it feels less like adding depth and more like making excuses. The movie certainly isn't trying to make the main dude look good, but it does feel like it's trying to make him look better. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever argued with someone who will admit how they fucked up, but only to make what they say about how you're at fault too seem more believable. But I kind of feel like this movie is doing that. When it depicts the guy's mistakes, it often feels less like an acknowledgement of fault and more like an attempt to control the narrative. The guy will be like, yes, I did drink so much that I lost my job, but she plays too many video games. This is an actual thing that the movie says.
You know, she's not wrong. You do drink a lot.
I drink the exact amount that you do, and it's usually your idea.
My ideas are your ideas, pal.
Look, people drink. She drinks, and I don't say a word. Plus, she's always playing those stupid video games, you know? That, my friend, is an addiction.
And obviously he's deflecting there. I don't think we're supposed to actually think that her video games are a bigger problem than his drinking, but I'm also not sure we're not supposed to think that they're a problem. I did notice her playing video games a lot throughout the movie. And at first I thought it was just meant to be a reminder that she also has osteogenesis imperfecta, so she can't safely do a lot of physical activities. Thinking about it with that clip I just showed you in mind though, I do kind of wonder if it was meant to be her vice. They made a concerted effort to include that aspect of her life in the movie, and I think the reason might be to say, see, she's not perfect either. And that's weird to me because based on what we see in the movie, she might be perfect. Maybe it's just because Megan Fahey is really pretty, but it almost feels as if she's being framed as an angel in a lot of the scenes. And you know, maybe that was the goal. The real guy just loves his wife so much that he wanted the audience to think she was perfect, but he still had to show some of her shortcomings because they were integral to the narrative he was trying to tell. If that's what he was going for, though, it didn't work. Instead, it starts to feel like he's making a bigger deal out of certain things she's done in order to show that both of them were at fault at different points in their marriage. Outside of the video games, I think there are two other things she does wrong, and only one of them is actually bad. The other is this.
That's weird.
What's weird? What?
Well, Teresa's last name is Hauser.
It's not that weird. What, dude? Why are you making that face? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was married. Twice.
What? Twice?
I mean, does it make a difference? Would you have not gone through with it if you knew she had been married before? Because, like, maybe you just shouldn't have gone through with it then. And look, I do think if you're with someone, you should tell them about any past spouses you may have, but they also went on 3 dates before he got her pregnant, so like, when was she supposed to? The author is presumably telling his life story here, so the fact that he thought to include his wife's previous marriages means that he thinks it's important enough to mention. And like, it's not just a brief acknowledgement either. There are multiple scenes about it, and the main dude clearly isn't thrilled.
Twice.
It's fine.
Married 2 times. That's a lot.
It's fine.
Okay. Doesn't seem like it's really fine. Think you're suppressing your emotions and that's unhealthy.
And honestly, it feels weird that he would include this, because it doesn't really add much to the narrative. Or it does, but not in a way you'd think the author would want to include.
Are you mad?
Yeah, I'm mad. I mean, I think I'm mad. I don't know. How am I supposed to feel? I feel duped, Teresa. That's how I feel.
I wasn't trying to hide anything. I've been divorced twice. I have bones made of chalk. I used to dream about being in a fairy tale, except that I never knew if I was the princess or the ugly stepsister. Because I always felt cursed. And, I was afraid that you would be done with me, and I wouldn't blame you.
Okay, that is a fucked up thing to say. If you feel cursed, that obviously makes you the princess. Ugly stepsisters don't get cursed. Also, this is a horrible point of view to have going into a relationship. She's basically saying that she tolerates this dude because she's worried he's the best she can do and doesn't want him to leave her. I don't really want these people to end up together. This movie does not do a good job at making me root for them. The one time the mom does genuinely fuck up is when she stops paying the bills, and that causes the family to lose their home, which... Alright, that one's not great. But Even that is not necessarily her fault. It's more of a shitty situation that they found themselves in that she bears the brunt of.
You didn't pay these? You didn't pay any of these?
I've been trying to keep up, but with the surgeries and the therapy and the medication, I had no choice. I had to put it on cards, and then the cards raised the rates, and it got out of control.
Out of control, out of control. They took our trash bins, Teresa.
They took their trash bins. I'm not really sure what the alternative was supposed to be, though. Obviously, she should have told him that they were in debt before it became an issue, but I don't think that would have really helped anything. It sounds like they just couldn't afford all of Oz's medical bills, so short of just letting the kids suffer, I'm not sure what the main dude would have done differently. Also, while it does seem like it was her responsibility to stay on top of the bills, I would still argue that he deserves at least some of the blame. This didn't happen until he lost his job because he was drinking too much. Also, lest you forget, he was the one watching Ozman every time he broke a bone, so the bills are kind of on him. Still, that doesn't stop him from trying to pin it all on his wife in the most dickish way imaginable.
While you're what? Gallivanting around spending God knows what buying Austin 20 pairs of sneakers that he doesn't need, bunch of Star Wars crap and DVDs
It's
and
not just
whatever.
me, okay? What about you? What about your hobbies and your gadgets and your country club membership, Scott? How did you think we were paying for all of it?
No, I didn't know.
You didn't want to know.
I think that this was the exact moment I turned on Main Dude the first time I watched this, because how are you gonna get mad at your wife for buying your son shoes, knowing full well that you have a country club membership? I don't know, maybe he would have just let Ozman suffer. I also think it's interesting that he only calls her out for buying Austin stuff because they have 2 kids. I don't remember the other one's name, but he does exist. Remember, the dad made him push them on the swings that one time. The fact that he only brings up Austin suggests either that the mom doesn't buy the other one shoes, or that the dad is only mad when she buys them for Austin. And based on the movie, both possibilities feel equally likely. And yeah, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but this is not a happy marriage. Everything we see leads me to believe that the best thing they could do is just split up and co-parent amicably.
Sometimes mom and dad yell when they talk. Mom says dad doesn't hear what she says, which is impossible because she says the word so loud.
Maybe everybody else has it figured out, and it's too much.
Yeah, it is too much. It's $70,000 too much, Teresa, okay? How are we supposed to pay this?
Stop yelling. You sound like my dad.
We can lose our house!
Stop yelling.
Oh, right. I don't know if I said this outright yet, but it sounds like her dad was a pretty abusive alcoholic, and that's why she puts up with Main Dude for so long. So yeah, no part of this relationship is healthy. And thankfully, she does leave him. At least for a little bit. And this brings us back to that New Year's party at the beginning, because that's meant to be Main Dude's rock bottom. He drives the kids home drunk, and they're fine, but after that, she's had enough and kicks him out.
I want you out of this house right now.
The kids.
The kids are fine. They're in their room, and that's where they're gonna stay until you're gone. I don't want you near them or me. Get out.
Teresa.
Get out!
I'm so sorry.
And like, good for her. But unfortunately, it doesn't last. Like, at all. It takes 3 minutes and 18 seconds for her sister to show up and start trying to convince her to take him back. Just like, to put that into perspective, the movie spends 2 minutes and 51 seconds on her being married before. So,
Are you kidding me? After everything we went through growing up, I am not doing that again.
Well, you put down the game
I don't
and
know how
let
she
me
put up with
finish.
it all those years.
Just let me finish.
Okay, chill. I'm listening. Okay, go.
Thank you. My point is, you're not mom, and Scott's not dad. I mean, come on. With Dad, this went on for years. He was gone all the time. But Scott, yes, he messed up, but he's here. He's trying. And you know what? I bet he's struggling with a lot right now, but hey, you've had your share of struggles too, be honest.
So
do you want to struggle together or do you want to struggle apart?
apart, definitely.
She's right. I don't think we're supposed to think that she's right, but objectively she is. That may be some of the worst advice I've ever seen put to film. And what makes it worse is that it's being said in the movie based on the book by the guy the advice is about. I think that if I were writing the story of my own redemption, I'd probably leave out the part where I imagine a conversation between my wife and her sister about how I'm bad, but she should still take me back because I'm not as bad as their alcoholic father. Or at the very least, if I did include that part, I would not have her too distracted by her video game addiction to actually listen. And like, look, I'm not saying she should never talk to the guy again. He clearly does work hard to get his life in order, and he's as deserving of forgiveness as anyone else. But that doesn't mean that they should get back together. Everything we've seen from this relationship has been deeply toxic, so before they rekindle it, I think there needs to be a fundamental shift in their dynamic. That doesn't really happen, though. When she does inevitably take him back, she returns to that whole, I don't know if I'm the princess or the ugly stepsister speech. And you'd think that there would be a shift there. She'd say, I'd realize that I'm the princess and the prince, and I need to save myself, or something stupid and empowering like that. But no.
Remember how I used to wonder if I was the princess or the ugly stepsister? Well, it turns out that I'm neither. I'm just a regular mess. And I don't expect you to be a perfect prince. That'd be really boring. And it would make me super insecure.
Granted, it does sound nicer than the first thing she said, but it basically means the same thing. She's saying that she accepts the dude's flaws because she is also flawed. I come away from this movie feeling genuinely bad for this woman. She clearly has some self-esteem issues that she needs to work on, and I can't tell if the people making this realize that. Like, she almost feels like something out of a marriage counseling textbook, so part of me thinks that they're doing it on purpose, but when they get back together, it's treated like a happy ending, and I don't think that would be the case if they actually realized how unhealthy this dynamic was. One thing I thought a lot about while watching this is what the story would look like if anyone else in the family had written it, because I can't imagine we'd be rooting for the two of them from anyone else's perspective but the dad's. We get so much insight into his feelings that we want to forgive him by the end, but if we were as privy to the details of what the mom or the forgotten other son were going through, I can't imagine we'd feel the same way. This character really is a dick. And I think that's my main problem with this movie. It's not that it's from the main dude's perspective, it's that that perspective is deeply flawed. The point of the story is that he learns a lesson by the end, but I honestly don't think he understood what that lesson was. He says what he thinks it is in the voiceover in the last scene. Even though Ozman has been narrating the entire movie, main dude still gives himself the last word.
And so Dad, great. Dad, look at me. Dad, look at me, please. Thank you. You're welcome. This is
Yeah. I'm looking. What's so important?
This is the best strawberry shake I've ever had. You have to believe me. The texture, the smoothness, and it is so creamy. Oh man, it is just like heaven. This milkshake is perfection. Do you get it? This milkshake makes the deal. It makes everything better. This is the best day of my life!
Okay.
So happy to hear that.
I'm excited.
Be still, my darling.
I believe, Austin, that it really was the best milkshake ever. Because to Austin, every milkshake can be the best milkshake. Every day can be the best day, every moment the best moment. You just have to be able to see it.
He's come to realize that he needs to look for the good in the world the same way that Austin does. If you learn to appreciate things for what they are, then even something as small as a milkshake can be worth screaming about. Based on the rest of the movie, I think he's talking about his life right now. He never says it outright, but I don't think that things worked out for him the way he thought they would. There's a lot of talk about big plans he had.
Medical rep? For now. But, I've got big plans. 5 years I'm going to be living in Manhattan, working for a massive ad agency, driving a green Volvo.
You want kids.
After I've done a million other things.
He never asked for an unplanned pregnancy or a turbulent marriage or a special needs child, but now that that's the life he's got, he's learned to appreciate it. And it's like, fuck you! You were the problem, motherfucker! Like I said, he acknowledges his mistakes many times over the course of the film, and while I think that's admirable, it doesn't change the fact that he's still the one who made them. And it's complicated because a lot of those mistakes were rooted in his alcoholism, and alcoholism is a disease, so I don't want to go trying to blame him or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that he didn't put a shit ton of strain on his family. For his takeaway to be, well, it wasn't my first choice, but I guess I'll take it, is honestly frustrating because he is lucky to have the life that he has. He has the same vibe as those girls on My Super Sweet 16 who would get mad at their parents for buying them a Volvo instead of a Bentley, and it's like, how are you complaining right now? Shut up and enjoy your free car, you brat. Also, not for nothing, but I don't really believe what he's saying right now. It's hard to take a lesson about not wanting more too seriously when that lesson is written in a book that was turned into a major motion picture, because the fact of the matter is that you don't get a movie like this made by spending nights at home with your family. That's just a fact. It feels less like he's accepting that he had to sacrifice his big plans for his special needs kid, and more like he's figured out a way to adapt those plans by incorporating his special needs kid. I feel like it's probably pretty obvious at this point that I'm not a huge fan of the guy who wrote this book, and I think I should take a second to acknowledge that that's a bit unfair. I don't know this dude from Adam, and I shouldn't judge him based on a movie he didn't even make. Granted, based on the one link he shared on his Goodreads page, I feel like we probably wouldn't be the best of friends, but even still, I am making a lot of assumptions about him, and I have no idea how true anything I'm saying actually is. Still, there's a reason he irks me, and that's because there's something deeply self-centered at the core of this movie. And I think ultimately, the core of this movie is him. He gets in one more little bit of voiceover before the credits roll, and I think it's a pretty perfect encapsulation of this movie.
I spent most of my son's life trying to figure him out, so I could fix him. But it turns out he wasn't broken at all. He didn't need me to fix him. I needed him to fix me. That's a true fact.
And yeah, that sounds lovely. Super not what a kid is for, though. Everything comes back to main dude. We see Austin break multiple bones, but he's the one we see taking it the hardest. He makes his wife's life miserable with his drinking, but we only hear about how she's feeling when she yells at him to stop. He made his 10-year-old son push him on a swing. That last one's maybe not quite the same as the other two, but it irked me nonetheless. One of the biggest problems I had with this movie is the fact that they focus so heavily on Austin's autism, but they really just let the guy have full conversations with an imaginary friend, and we're supposed to let that one slide. And it's not even like a metaphor for thinking. He literally has one-sided conversations with his psyche that other people can see.
Emin.
Yeah!
Let's go!
Bartender, 2 whiskeys.
Champagne for my real friends, real pain for my sham friends.
And again, the movie does acknowledge that this is just as different as anything Austin might do.
I just, I needed a break. You know, T, that boy, he can really
Oh
talk.
my God, it's amazing. I wonder where he gets it.
That's not the same thing.
You talk to yourself every day. Or to Joe, anyway.
Hey.
But I never get the sense that he actually believes that. Joe is with us right up until the final scene. I don't think that he thinks that Joe is a problem, but I do think he thinks that Austin's autism is, and I think that's because he's not the one who has it. When he learns to love the life he has, like an autistic kid loves a milkshake, it doesn't feel like he's changed at all. It just seems like a continuation of who he's been the entire movie. And that's someone who's incapable of seeing outside of himself. I have no doubt that he does love his family and the life he has, and that's great. I'm glad it worked out for him. But that's him. And when I say it like that, it makes me that much more certain that this was meant to be a pro-life film, because that's how pro-lifers work too. Stuff like this is so frustrating because they tell these beautiful stories where everything works out in the end, and then you can't really argue against it because it sounds like you're telling them that they should have aborted their son that they love, and that makes you sound like a huge dick. And it's like, I would never tell anyone that they shouldn't have had kids. I just think that they shouldn't be telling anyone that they should. This is not the only story. There are a lot of other situations where people made the same decision that they did, and it didn't end with a happy dinner at a diner. I would love to have a family like his one day. I mean, I wouldn't want my son to have brittle bone syndrome, but for his sake, not mine. That said, I have a strong suspicion that if you showed me an alternate version of this movie where they didn't go through with it and asked me to choose, I probably wouldn't pick the one where I spend my life in a contentious marriage with a person I went on 3 dates with. This movie is about how his choices worked out for him in the end, and that's great. But it seems like he's trying to use it as a way to tell people that making the same choices will work out for them too. And that's not necessarily true. I talked about RFK Jr. at the beginning of the video, and the more I talk, the more it makes sense why the people making this movie would connect with him. And that's because he thinks the same way that they do. And I don't know if it's safe anymore to talk shit on him because fascism, but whatever. I'm probably already headed to one of the concentration camps anyway, pun intended. I have ADHD. But yeah, I fucking hate RFK Jr. And it's not because of his beliefs. I mean, it is, but that's only part of it. The reason I hate him is because despite being objectively wrong about so many things, he still thinks he knows what's right enough that he sullied the good name his daddy gave him and ruined Cheryl Hines for the rest of us in order to try and impose it on everyone else. Which is not to say that he's wrong about everything. Dude believes some crazy shit, but he also has some things he says that are right and should be said. We should eat less processed foods. Exercise is good for you. Taking a chainsaw to a whale carcass is fun as hell. Still, when he's wrong, he's very wrong. The motherfucker went out and got brainworms. I don't know how you do that, but I can't imagine that it was because of good decisions. And you know, I would rather be injected with 1,000 syringes full of autism than know that I have one single worm crawling around inside my brain. I guess we're different in that way, though. He clearly prefers the worms. They were a banal enough occurrence in his life that he willingly made a public announcement about them. I would have taken that to my grave, but he's over there talking about it on a campaign trail. And if that works for him, then great. But you could not pay me to live a day of my life as that man. It seems painful, quite frankly. He looks like he chewed half a stick of that Willy Wonka gum and stopped turning into a blueberry midway through. I think his beliefs are rooted in something. He clearly has put a lot of work into finding the life that fits him best, and I don't have an issue with that. The issue I have is when he starts acting like his way is the only way. Exercise may have been a great way for you to control your ADHD, but I need the pills, motherfucker. Ultimately, I think the people who made this movie and pro-lifers and RFK Jr. all have the same problem, and that's that they're not very scientific. And I'm not saying that because most of the people I just named actively shun science. I'm saying it because they all seem to be making conclusions based on a sample size of 1. And you're really not supposed to do that. But yeah, that's my video. Please like and subscribe and share and comment and put... What am I doing? Oh no. Also, thank you to everyone who supports the channel monetarily through Patreon or memberships or super thanks. And I do have some super thanks and super thanks back, but I am running late and I don't want to do it this video, but I'll do it the next video, I promise. Yeah. And speaking of supporting the channel financially, people who watch my videos know that I recently made a ghoul and then sold that ghoul on eBay. And the response was a lot more effusive than I was expecting, so because of popular demand, I made another ghoul. This is Janet. She's yeah, I'm learning to crochet, so I gave her little neck ruffles and a crown. And ears. But yeah, this is available on eBay. I'm gonna list it the second I post this video live. And if you're a member, you'll be seeing it sooner. I don't know if that's a perk, but yeah. She's really soft. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Goodbye. Hello. It's time for the part where my patrons' names scroll and I pose for a thumbnail. I should start knitting in the thumbnail more. I'm gonna get my little knitting. People will be like, ooh, a checkerboard. This guy must be legit. So, I don't know what face I should be making with this one though, because it's like, no, that's not legit because his checkerboard is not doing really well. I should, I don't know, it's a long day. I'm trying to get this video done, but I'm traveling this week because I'm traveling like every week this summer, and I'm very lucky that that's happening, but it also sucks. I just want to sit on my couch. And so I'm like scrambling to get this done before I leave because I can't record at other places. And obviously today is the day that everything happened all at once. I told my cousin I'd pick something up for her, and I told my dog that I'd take him to the vet because he's been having diarrhea, and he wasn't happy about it, but I wasn't happy about his diarrhea, so I wanted to get it fixed. I still don't know what it is, but it was expensive. What am I doing? Posing. Okay. I guess what are my feelings? What are my feelings towards this movie? I guess my feelings are anger, sadness, boredom, hunger. Um I should start making a note of what poses do well and what don't. I don't even know if that matters. Oh shit, I forgot doing one of these videos. I haven't worn a tiny hat in a video in a while. It makes it so much harder to Photoshop. Keep your eyes peeled. This will look like it has mange by the time I'm done with it. Do 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 boo ba do 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 do. Maybe I should go big for like. I did a couple of videos ago. I I did one where I was like, I'm gonna see what happens if I just post it with a smile, like a real creepy smile like that. And then I put it as one of the A/B test options. So it won, and now that's just the thumbnail, and it looks insane. Video didn't do great, but so I don't think that smiling like helps, but like apparently it does better than other things according to Google Analytics. Maybe side eye, like, why do I do this section? It always ends up being the same basic photo. I should just do what Shane Dawson does and get one good photo of me going like, and then use it every single time. Maybe I should just start putting a picture of Shane Dawson on my thumbnails. One half of my mustache a lot darker than the other, or is that just. Why am I still recording this? One more. Okay, one more. Okay. That should do it. Bye bye.